Hi, I'm live. I believe I'm live. Hey, if you're here with me this evening, would you introduce yourself in the comments? I finally figured out how to see the comments when I'm streaming, and I would love to know who is here. I believe I have figured it out. Let's see, because I need you to comment, and then I'll know if you're there. Um, I am really looking forward to this evening's chat. I'm going to start in about a minute talking about chapter 4 of Onward, community, and but as I'm waiting for the time to hit 5 o'clock here on the West Coast, again, if you are here, introduce yourself in the comments. Tell me where you are, perhaps what your role is, and then that would be really nice. I'm just waiting to see if your comments pop up. Oh, so much learning with technology. There's so much to figure out. Um, oh, as I was turning this on to get it ready, just looked at the video I recorded last month. I can't believe it was a month ago because it feels so long ago. And I almost want to delete it because I feel like I was so out of it and talking so slowly. I had a terrible cold, like the worst cold I've had in so long. But I just don't know why I should not have done that then. Why can't I see any comments? Oh, okay, now I can see. I can see that there's 10 people watching. Okay, this gets really complicated because I have to put you on. This is so confusing. Technology. Okay, I can see that there's people watching, which, hi, Kim from Wisconsin. Now I can see the comments. I'm figuring this out 5 months into this. Hi, Maggie from Wisconsin also. And Trisha, kindergarten teacher, also from Wisconsin. I'm wondering if the three of you know each other. Hi, Christine, just outside of Chicago. Christine, I'm going to be in Chicago next week. And Amy, more Wisconsin presence here. Where are you guys from in Wisconsin? I'm really ready to take a trip to Madison, Wisconsin, because this weekend I met through video these two incredible women in Madison who host an Onward book club, and I'm just like, I just want to meet them. Maybe I'll come. Sarah from San Diego. Hi, Sarah. We kind of met on Saturday too. Hi, Janet. You're here. Hi, Jen from Wisconsin. More Wisconsin. And John and Maggie from Wisconsin. I'm really impressed. And hi, Lori. I know Lori in San Francisco. Oh, it's so nice to see all of you saying hi to each other too. This is community, right? This is like, I am just kind of Oregon, right outside of Madison. Okay, so maybe if I come to Madison, I'll meet all of you. Maybe you're all from there, maybe you're not. Maybe there's just a lot of interest in resilience in Wisconsin. This last weekend, I had a new kind of just overwhelmingly wonderful experience of building community. And that was through Onward, through two different groups of book clubs. So one book club that is in San Diego, and Angela and Sarah, a part of that, invited me, or I offered to drop in on their book club and chat for a few minutes. And I did that on Saturday, and it was an hour, and it was wonderful. It was so great to connect with these women. And then on Sunday, yesterday, I got an email from two women in Wisconsin who are teachers and who host an Onward book club. And they just recorded this YouTube video for me, talking about what they do and how they run their book club and sharing the impact that Onward has had. And it was just so incredibly meaningful. And I literally like sat on my couch getting all choked up with big old tears running down my cheeks, feeling this connection with these people. It was really incredible. Oh, you're all getting your master's in trauma-informed care together in Wisconsin. Wow, that is so cool. Part of a master's group. That is really, I'm so glad that you are all here. And I'm so excited to talk about community tonight. It's been, even though I'm not working in a school now, it's so on my mind. My son just started high school 2 weeks ago, and so I've been building community there with his teachers, with the parents of his students, with him in a new, different way with his friends. I participated in sort of a carpool. And it's really taking me back to both the kind of the nervousness and excitement about how do we build community and the rewards and the potential and the way that I feel like I can just feel how my life is becoming more enriched and how I'm feeling more resilient. Like literally little tiny things. Like we now have someone who lives not far from where we live, whose son also goes to school where my son does, and we carpool together. And I have not had that. Um, we live in a community or a neighborhood where everybody's kind of spread out and does different things. Anyway, it's a long story, but we just haven't had another parent who we can call and say, can you pick up a ride and take him to school? Or, um, he's feeling sick and we have to pick him up from the train. We can't get there. Is there anybody who could run down? Just the support system, which makes it feel like when the little things happen, you have people you can turn to. That's what community is in some level. It's the big celebrations, but it's the little ones. Like I remember my partner teacher and we taught really close to each other. And those moments, when you're like, I have not had a break all morning. And if I don't get to the bathroom right now, it's a problem. And being able to call her on her prep, literally call, that was before cell phones, and say like, come on in and stay with my kids for a few minutes. And, but then she was my partner teacher and she was a friend, and we would get together on the weekends and lesson plan and laugh and like play, board games with our partners and friends, and just the many, many different expressions of community. Yes, Janet, people are talking about, right, carpooling and having a village. And I have to say, like, I have felt, well, maybe it's not off topic, but as far as community, and I felt so lonely and isolated as a parent. I'm only recently coming to recognize how hard it's been and how lonely. In fact, one of the activities for tonight, I've got a couple of activities for us. One of them is to go into the Onward workbook and find the storytelling prompts. And Sarah, your group actually inspired this activity for me. Let's just do it right now. Okay, if you have the Onward workbook, this is a bonus for all of you who have it, open up to page 247, and you are going to find storytelling prompts there. And in Sarah's, the group that she co-facilitates, her book group, on Saturday, she opened it up by inviting people in the group to talk about one of the storytelling prompts. The prompt was talk about somebody who's important to you. And that I love how simple that was and how replicable that was. Like whether you're a teacher or a coach or an administrator or leading a book club, just opening up with a storytelling prompt and inviting people to share as an opening on in the video that these two wonderful women sent me from Madison, Wisconsin. They had their book club meeting on Friday night, and they were recording their video to me on Saturday. And they talked about how exhausted everybody was when they were showing up, right? Like 2 or 3 weeks into the school year, and how many people wanted to cancel, how they wanted to cancel, and they went on and they held it, and how people came in just drained. And the first thing they did was to offer them an opportunity to tell stories. And the phrases they used in describing the sounds of storytelling in the room, rippling through the room, and the way that within just moments it felt like people transformed and their relationship to each other, talking in pairs or triads in telling a story. And I know that. I've seen it happen. You just ask people to tell a story. It's like magic, and it's so simple. So here's my invitation to you. Open to page 247. Skim through that very long list of storytelling prompts. I know, the sounds of storytelling. And select one that you'd like to hear a story from me about. Now, I feel like I tell you so many stories in my books and blogs and blah, blah, blah. Like, you've got to be sick of hearing from me. But then some of my trusted advisors say, no, tell some more stories. Tell some you haven't told. So skim through that list, choose a prompt that you'd like me to tell you a story on, and let's see what happens. Write down that prompt in the chat box. And after there's like 3 of them there, then I'm just going to randomly choose one. And if you don't have your Onward workbook with you, go and find it. Or, I don't know if that's a page you can see on the Amazon preview book. I should have thought about that. I just came here and I made the assumption everyone's going to have their Onward workbook with them, but maybe not. So you know what? In just a moment, I'll just tell a story anyway. And then I've got another activity for us tonight. And that one is also inspired by what I learned this weekend, listening to people talk about their Onward workbook, their Onward book clubs. Okay, tell us a story about you as a learner in school. Lori doesn't have her workbook because she's at work. I know, I should have prompted you guys. Someone who's really important. Something like that. Okay. Hi, Katrina. See, love, like, kind of knowing, like having a face and a voice to put to some of these names. Okay, I'll tell you a story about me as a learner in school. Last week, this came up because I went to my son's sort of back to school night. We met with his advisor and the parents of the other students in his advisory. And the teacher asked us to introduce ourselves and tell a story about us in high school, tell a story about a memory, a positive memory from high school. And when it was my turn, it was awful because it was one of those things where all the other parents were talking and I just kept thinking about what am I going to say? And I was having a hard time concentrating and listening, bad listening. But when it came to my turn, I said, I don't know, this is like I don't know how I had never thought about it like this before, but I cannot remember a single positive thing from high school. Like I can remember a very brief morning when I presented something and my teacher asked me a question and said I had done something well. And other than that, like my high school was so boring. We sat in rows. We did that reading from the textbook and the teacher would go around the room and have you read a paragraph or two, or they stood at the front and they lectured, or we worked silently. I mean, it was absolutely epitome of boring. Year after year, class after class. In English class, which I liked writing, my teacher returned all my papers to me, marked up in red ink, and told me I couldn't spell, and that's why I got a C in English. And I was not a very good student. I mean, good, right? I shouldn't even say that. Like, I got C's and B's. I kind of barely cranked it up to like a high B and got into college somehow. That was back in the 80s. And, but my mother was an ESL teacher, and my Spanish class was so boring. We would just work out these stupid, boring workbooks and read the most stupid, boring things. And I would tell my mother, and I would hear about how she taught. And I asked my Spanish teacher I was in 11th grade. I asked my Spanish teacher if I could teach Spanish for the week. And I said I would create lessons and teach. And he didn't care. He was like, okay. I mean, that was like chutzpah, right? So I asked my Spanish teacher if I could teach. My mom helped me develop these lessons, and I took her ESL, like big pictures where you talked about the things. And I'm a fluent Spanish teacher, and I was in high school. And I taught these classes, and everybody loved them. And I had been actually interested in being a teacher already for a couple of years. Really, I would say since I was 4, and since my brother was 4, that means I was 7, and I taught my brother to read. I'd been interested in being a teacher. But it was that moment, and then many others in high school, where I just started thinking, like, this is so boring. School could be so much better. I had a really rich learning life outside of school. My mom and my family, like, made the experience of learning about the world and history and politics and literature and the arts so rich that I knew that learning could be really deeply thrilling and tingling and I would sit in these boring history classes thinking, and I loved history, and my friends hated history, and I was like, but it can be so interesting. It could be so much better. And that's when I decided I want to become a teacher. And I know there's still so many classes like this. It's like it doesn't have to be this way. It shouldn't be this way. And that's just given me so much continued sort of motivation because I know, like in my bones and in my gut, how just soul killing that kind of experience is. Bye, Lori. Chutzpah's a good thing. I agree. Bye, Lori. That's my story about being a learner in school. So I want to invite you into an activity, and then I do want to give you an opportunity to ask questions about Onward or facilitating Onward now that I have finally figured out how to see the comments. I'm sorry in previous chats I wasn't able to. So this is another one. If you have your workbook, then open to page 235. If you don't have your workbook, it's okay because I want to ask you right now to go to the Onward website, which is onwardthebook.com. And when you go to the Onward website, first of all, if you have not signed up for our newsletter, that's the first thing that you should do because we send out a newsletter twice a month with all the things that you might have missed on our website that have come out in relationship to that month's theme. So you want to sign up. Now, after you do that, then you want to go to the downloadable tools. I'm pulling up the website to make sure I'm giving you correct instructions. Okay, so you want to go to resources and downloadable tools, and let's all do that together, unless you have the book, in which you can use that. And then let's go down here and look for 66 ways to build community. There it is on the very bottom row. Open that up. We're going to use that right now. And you might want to download it, but of course you can do that at any point. This is from the workbook. And this is kind of, the book talks about a lot of really big concepts and adaptive skills, like becoming aware of your nonverbals and listening. This resource, I think, is very straightforward and directive and actionable. And so what I want to ask you to do is start looking through it or skim through it and see if there's a few that you've done or that you do regularly. And in the comments, share just a brief, like which ones those are, and perhaps how it's worked for you. Like, I've always done this and love visiting my students in their homes. I always loved visiting my students in their homes. So take just a couple of minutes to read through there and then post in the comments. And as you are skimming through that list, also identify a couple that you can commit to doing this month. I'm just reading through the comments and I love that there's so many. I mean, these are connecting with students and parents and colleagues. I think when I looked over this list today, I was just reminded of how enjoyable so many of these activities are, and how when we make time for them and we do them, we just feel more whole. Yeah, how do we build capacity and build community? Greeting people, greeting each student. It's just that it's the being seen, being acknowledged, being recognized. And I love the comments about photos and kids. I still look for my kid's photo every time I go to his school. I'm like, we went last week and I saw his photo there and it affected me. It was like, he's here, he's present, they see him. Um, yeah, eating lunch with students, going to their after school activities. So let me ask y'all, can you share a commitment that you can make this month? And you could write this just to distinguish between what you already do. Perhaps write as I commit to. I commit to eating lunch with the new teacher. I commit to coffee with my new principal. I commit to 3 positive phone calls home to students' parents this week. Thank you, Sarah. So I encourage all of you to perhaps print this out, put it up somewhere you can see it, make a commitment, make a date, and take the first action. And Sarah, yep, I hear you. Being shy is harder, and yet, oh, think about all the risks we ask our kids to take every day. Oh, thank you, John. Tell the custodial and lunchroom staff what you appreciate about them. Katrina inspired me to do this activity with you guys because Katrina told us on Saturday about how this connection she'd had, this conversation she'd had with a custodian doing work at her school. And it was just so meaningful to me. It really, I don't know, it really struck me. The connections we can make with people who are often not seen, not acknowledged, not recognized. Okay, Teresa, eat lunch in the lounge. Just once or twice. Yeah, eat a consistent brunch with students. Oh, ask the office staff if there's anything you can do to make their life easier, their job easier. Doing home visits. Yeah, and some of these, I mean, I know I remember home visits took a lot of time and a lot of energy. And so even starting to think about which ones to prioritize, how to make it doable. And you know what, Trisha, many of you are talking about like eating lunch. And so eating lunch in the lounge also means you eat lunch, right? Which is really important because so many educators skip lunch or eat while they're working. And so you're actually, it's the doubling up on resilience boosters there. It's like a super vaccine. Eat lunch and eat lunch with colleagues. So I want to invite you, if you have any questions about Onward, resilience, facilitating Onward, I just like left it as open as it is there, anything, to ask those questions. Because as I said, in the last couple of chats, people have had questions, but I hadn't figured out the technology and couldn't see how to see the comments. And so I felt really awful when I saw the questions are afterwards. So if you have questions, ask them. Isn't it interesting eating in the lounge? Like we would like to, and yet we don't. And so, my suggestion is make a commitment to another colleague. Say like, it's like exercising, right? If we make a commitment, at least for me, if I say like, yeah, I'll meet you for a walk, I will do it because I'm not going to let my friend down because our relationships are really important. We're actually often more invested in our relationships and our social fabric than anything else. And so tell somebody else, yeah, let's have lunch together. I'll bring this and you bring that, or bring your own, or whatever it is, and sit down and have lunch together. Take a storytelling prompt, especially if you're shy and you're like, what are we going to talk about? Or it feels awkward. Say like, hey, I'm reading this book. Maybe we could share a story about yourself as a learner, or whatever it is that you'd like to open up a conversation to. Maybe, again, double up on the resilience boosting activities. That would be like a triple. I wonder if we could keep adding. You could also, now you shouldn't eat and walk at the same time. I'm always big on trying to figure out how to get more exercise because I sit too much, how to not be. But I am sitting in sort of this new office space. Isn't it a nicer backdrop than my living room? My living room's fine, but I like this with simplicity. I know who else, I'm looking at Katrina's comment there, like custodians work so hard. Who else at school works so hard and isn't seen and recognized? All the other people in the system who are out there and working so hard. I'm just so struck by how much, so many of the challenges that we face, I keep coming back to, like, people just want to be seen. People want to be acknowledged and recognized and appreciated. Yeah, the people who work in the cafeteria. Yeah. I wonder what could be done to acknowledge them, to listen to them, to invite them to share their stories, to get to know them. So appreciations of all kinds are wonderful, and bus drivers. Appreciations and acknowledgement and gifts and a celebration day. But that simple connection of, tell me about someone who's been really important to you in your life. Or tell me about what you enjoy about your job. Those simple ways to connect. I think just thinking, even just imagining more connections between people makes me feel happier, makes me feel like the possibility of resilience for others, for all of us. Years ago, I read something. I'm totally an introvert. I'm often like, I don't know. I go to a store and I just kind of like, I just want to buy my thing, get done and go. And I started this practice, I suppose, of, when you go through a cashier line or something and they say like, hi, how are you? And it's just a like throwaway line, right? I started doing this thing where I'd say, I'm doing really well, thank you. How are you? And I would just hold this kind of pause. And some of them would say like, fine, thank you. And others would say, oh, I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking. And it's just this little moment of connection. And in that interaction, I started trying to kind of slow myself down and take this as an opportunity for, here's another human being who is dealing with everything they're dealing with. And is there an opportunity in just these seconds to feel some kind of connection, some kind of humanity and commonality between us that actually might be nourishing for both of us? And I think we have just so many opportunities all the time, all the people that we interact with, to approach them and engage with them, remembering that everybody is coming to every moment full of all kinds of things that we can't see and we don't know about. And are there opportunities for us to have the briefest of human connection? I think possibly. Thanks, Katrina. All right, y'all, we just have a couple more minutes left. If anybody has any final comments or questions, use the comment box. I really appreciate all of you being here tonight. I'm really starting to enjoy the opportunities for connection via video, YouTube, virtual. As I said previously, I'm such a, like, in spite of my introversion, like, I'm really a people in person. I like one-on-one conversations. I like to see people. I like that human I guess I like, I don't know, feeling like being present with people. Um, and I'm really starting to enjoy what can happen in these conversations. So I really appreciate all your comments and the connections that we're forming in other places. And so I am on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. I really love Instagram. I love taking pictures, and that's probably the one in which I share more personal. But I'm on Twitter a lot too, and Facebook, both on the Onward page and the Art of Coaching page. If you're not yet on Facebook and you do use Facebook, we will be starting a closed private group for discussing Onward on Facebook, through Facebook. So do go over there, follow us. You can find all the links on our website. And that's it, you guys. Have a great evening. Thanks so much for being here. Oh, one more request. Oh, I was supposed to mention this earlier. The 66 ways to build community. I want to ask you right now to send that to 3 people who might find it useful. Send it as an email, send it on social media, send it, print it out and leave it on their desk tomorrow. Share it with 3 people who might find it useful. Okay? And actually, you could share this video. You could share our website. We just want to get the word out about resilience and what we have to offer and the community that we can develop in connection with this. So that's it. I just have to find the button that tells me I can turn this off. Still learning. Where's the off button? How do I stop it? There we go. Okay, bye guys.